Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode we'll be talking about the dark fantasy film Damsel, directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo and released on Netflix March 8th, 2024.
Yeah, this is a Netflix release. This is not a theater-wide, box office, whatever movie. So there's not going to be that information once I get to that in the production notes. There's very little info you can ever find out. It's like they keep it under some lock and key.
Yeah.
With Netflix, of course, it's not about like the dollars. I think it's more about the views, and that translates to money. Somehow there's an algorithm or a formula that I don't know anything about. I was able to get a little bit of budget info, but that's about it. Like, there's just not a lot.
Yeah, which is crazy because this still feels like such a brand new movie to me, even though it was the first time seeing it, that it released over a year ago. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Really just been holding off on that one, huh?
Yeah. It's interesting because I hadn't thought of us covering it until we talked about it last week when it came up on the wheel, because you had added it to the wheel.
Yep.
And we spun the wheel to find out what we'd be covering. And we're not going to go to that wheel every week. However, we will from time to time. And we'll see what comes up for us. It'll be fun. It'll give us a little drama to the process, I guess.
So I've told Daphne, Midsummer's going on the wheel. And then that way there's always a little bit of danger of covering the movie she doesn't want to.
A little bit of danger.
Yep.
That is a lot of danger. Okay. I mean, do you want to cover it? Really?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I didn't care for it too much, but I've only seen it once in theaters. And so, yeah, always revisiting stuff through a podcast lens can illuminate things in different ways. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It depends on the movie.
Pake, it's not going to be another The Ritual for me. Okay, it's not.
We'll see.
I can tell you right now.
Spoiler alert, we're going to get to it at some point, and Daphne's going to go, for some reason, this is my new favorite movie.
I saw that movie once before, or actually 40 times before, and it was called something else. So, no. That was another reason. I'm like, no, they did it better back in 1973, so let's just leave it there. So, we're going to kick this off the same way we always do, with some production notes. It was filmed in Tomar, Douro Valley, Serra de Estrela, Sontella, and Batalla, Portugal, as well as Ronda, Malaga, Andalusia, Spain, and London and Durham, England. Cinematography was so beautiful. Like, once they got outside the cave, it was just majestic, really. Yes. Now, Juan Carlos Fresnadillo directed another movie that we covered on this podcast. He directed 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited because, next month? We're getting 28 years later. I'm so excited.
Wait. Ugh. That's going to be another one where we're going to have to record early because I'm leaving to go to the movie theater opening night.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to arrange for something like that. I think it comes out at the end of the month. So, yeah, just before I take a little trip. The estimated budget for this, there were two different numbers I saw out there. One was 60 to 70 million, and the other one was 145 million. And I don't know how you get that discrepancy in there, but that's kind of what I saw. It was 110 minutes long. Pake, give us a synopsis.
A dutiful damsel agrees to marry a handsome prince, only to find the royal family has recruited her as a sacrifice to repay an ancient debt.
That was very Shakespearean of you.
Not really. There was just an accent on it. It was still pretty common English, not ye old English.
No, but I felt like your accent on it just made me think of someone standing in the middle of the town square going, hear ye, and that always makes me think of Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, famous town crier.
What? No. This is going to be good. I can tell already. Yep, I can tell. You might be under the weather, but you're definitely brought your same wit and your same sense of humor.
Yes.
So a
respiratory infection may bring my body down, but my humor can never be killed. Yep.
Okay. Well, as we mentioned before, this is the first film that was picked by our new randomizer, which, as I said, we're not going to use
Dead Silence
every
picked
week.
one too. Dead Silence was picked by the randomizer, and then we talked about how it was picked by it.
Yes, that's true. So Dead Silence was the first film, yes, technically. It narrowed it down to the 3. This was the first time that we ran the randomizer and just took the one film off.
True. Yes.
When we do it on the podcast,
it's a one and done.
It's one and done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the deal that we've made, which is why Pake is putting Midsummer on there.
Yes, it's the dark pact we've made with the randomizer, the wheel god.
Yes.
We must pay our dues from time to time. That's our own, ancient debt that we're going to have to repay. Is every now and then we're going to have to give our upcoming episode over to the god of wheel and see what it demands of us. Yeah.
I'm a little bit scared about that, Pake. I'm starting to feel very uneasy about the potential of you putting Midsummer on there 50 times so that it's guaranteed to show up. Because you know how much I don't want to talk about it or ever see it again. But I have to put it up to trusting you and faith in the wheel being fair. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Want to kick this off talking about characters?
I guess, if we have to.
I feel like there's really one character.
Yeah, I've got a few different sections, but they don't have a whole lot. Just because, there's some notes that are, about this one person doing this thing and stuff that's not Elodie, but yeah, most of the notes are definitely following her as the titular damsel.
Yeah, I loved her voiceover at the beginning. That's basically, this isn't a typical story of the heroic knight saving the damsel in distress. All I can think is, there is a dragon. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a dragon, so I'm down with that. I'm down for dragons. But yeah, we have Elodie chopping wood in a very barren, desolate place where there's not a lot of anything.
After the little, title thing, the centuries later came up, and I was like, centuries later? You don't see that very often.
No. No. I think they were trying to get the point across that this has been going on for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yes. Yeah, Elodie, we see her out there chopping wood and stuff. She's very capable, but she is the daughter of the lord of the town that they're in, which I don't think we ever got the name of their town.
We didn't.
There's a lot of things. Even her father and stepmother don't have names. They're just Lord and Lady Bayford, or even father or stepmother, or
yes,
big arc for their relationship, mother at the end of the movie, which was cool. But yeah,
Angela Bassett. Can we just say it, Angela Bassett?
Angela freaking Bassett. I did not know she was in this, and that was nice.
Me either.
It's not a huge role either, but when she was there, she did her thing.
Absolutely. Also, her father, Lord Bayford, was played by Ray Winstone, who he's a really big deal. He's done many, 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 many things. His filmography is, it just goes on forever. He's fantastic. So I think they paid attention to the little roles and cast it in such a strong way. Robin Wright was the queen. which we never learn her name either.
She is credited Queen Isabel. She has a name in the credits, at least. Versus just Lord and Lady Bayard.
I know. There was a book that was written, basically. Evelyn Skye released this novel that's based on the movie because she got a copy of the script ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Or a copy of the screenplay, the draft of the screenplay. And so she built this whole thing off of it. And even though it's similar, they may be very different as well because of how things ended up in the film, like in the final version of the film. So she kind of had the creative freedom to be able to do her own thing with it.
Yeah, so there's this town, this area that they're in, clearly not faring very well. They're low on food, goods, morale. It's just a terrible winter where they're like, at this rate, we can't survive till spring. This is not a good position we're in. And so to help them out, they get a marriage proposal coming from Aurea, from the Queen of Aurea, for Elodie to marry her son, Prince Henry.
I get the impression that Lord Bayford sent out requests or basically, I don't know, an advertisement. I've got
just
daughters.
Send it all to all the kingdoms of the land and the ones who want to swipe right. Or left, which is it? I don't know. I don't use the...
You're not on the thing?
I'm not on the apps. I ain't got no time for that.
Not with your podcasting schedule.
Nope. She'll be married off. She'll become Princess Elodie, and not the one that married a frog. A different one.
Yeah. Although I kind of think she was marrying a frog. Or it might have been better if she did marry the frog.
Maybe
and that says a lot. That says a lot from me. Although I will say, did you recognize the prince?
You did. That is Nick Robinson.
Yes.
Zach from Jurassic World. Also Simon from Love, Simon.
Yes. I have seen Love, Simon. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Love, Simon again.
It was. I went and saw that one in theaters, and yeah, it was one of those where there's other people in the theater, so I have to try to hide the fact that I'm just being wrecked.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yep.
This is why I don't watch movies like that, because they do make me cry.
Yep.
And I don't want to be that in touch with my emotions all the time. And I prefer to do that at home so I can just sit here with my box of tissues and sob if I need to.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's going to go marry Prince Henry. He seemed odd at first anyway. I mean, I kind of knew what some of the premise was of this movie. He seemed a little bit odd. Maybe because I was watching him to see how in on it he was. Yeah,
he hit it very well. Like, you could see, like, he was kind of sheltered, it seemed. Like, they definitely stay in their bubble in this kingdom. But, so he seemed a little awkward and a little sheltered. But, like, at first I was... Because, again, I avoid most everything about movies so that when I do watch stuff, I can go in as blind as possible. So I wasn't sure, I didn't know what was going to be the reason. I figured, there's part of me that was like, she's going to be out riding around with her new husband, and then the dragon's going to just pick her up and scoop her away and take her to its lair. Like, you know, so I didn't see that, like, the big twist really coming. So for me, looking at it this first time, taking notes, I'm just like, all right, Prince Henry. I was like, he's a handsome fella. Let's hope he's not a bad guy. He seems kind of awkward, but I think they're hitting off pretty good. So, like, he's opening up a bit, because that's what I just kind of figured. I was like, oh, he's shy and he's a little awkward. But then they have that conversation after they take the little horseback ride out to the mountains, and I was like, oh, she's, he really enjoyed the heart maze thing she draws, which is really cool. And then it's like, oh, she's opening him up, and she's gonna, like, bring a whole new thing to... No, not at all.
No. And she was hoping that at least he would be kind and well-read. Like that. Yeah. Those were her hopes. Although Floria added, and handsome to the discussion.
Yeah. Which, I mean, doesn't hurt, but it's good to know that her mind is just like, as long as he's kind and smart, like, it's a good thing.
She's one of those girls, though. You get this impression that she's kind of independent. She's had to do a lot of growing up and dealing with things like chopping wood. And I don't know. I get the impression with her that she's very capable of taking care of herself.
Yeah.
And that maybe getting married isn't something that she was really thinking about or focused on. She was really not into it. She's independent. She doesn't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of something that was hard for her, I think, to have to do, but she was willing to do it for her people. Like, that's what she was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
She just wanted to take care of them. And the sense of duty, you get the impression she got that from her mother and father. And her mother, of course, had passed away, so she has a stepmother. But you get the impression that her stepmother really cares about her. There's a couple of moments in this movie where it's like, it's obvious that she's connected with these girls and protective of them, which is not something you always see.
Yeah.
When it comes to step-parents. It can be a tricky situation in the real world.
Yeah, so we kind of... Things kick off pretty fast, though. We get the family, which you can tell something's up with her father. Yeah, it's like I have other notes, like people thrown in, but I'm just throwing to those whenever we get to them. And kind of, I was saying, Lord Bayford seems he's pretty shaken up after this terms of marriage meeting with the Queen, and I had a feeling what it was that she said. I didn't realize the other part would be with it because it was weird. Like, again, whenever I take notes on a first watch of a movie, a lot of my notes are like me guessing about something and then later on being like, well, I was wrong. But I leave stuff in anyway.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like a live, commenting on something. Where it's like, you get to see the process and the journey I went on. Yeah, because I had a feeling it was like, oh yeah, we're going to keep Elodie with us and the rest of your family is going to go home and you're going to cut all ties and you won't get to see her again. Like,
yep.
I kind of figured that was part of that conversation. That's why he seemed shaken the way he was. And that's shown to definitely be the fact after then Lady Bayford goes in and talks to the Queen in the courtyard. And that line, the delivery from her, your family needs money. Our family needs a bride. What we don't need is more family.
Exactly. And very condescendingly talks to her, like knowing her place, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Because
your father was what was it?
Rope maker.
A rope maker, yeah. It was like, and it's like, almost like, like rags to riches. Like, look, he's such small things. And then Lady Bayford's even thinking like, yeah, we started so small. And like, look, now here I am, having my family married into a wealthy family. And look where we can go. And instead it was very much like, yeah, daughter of a rope maker, know your place and go back to where you belong.
Mm-hmm. And Elodie thinks, honestly, that Floria and her family are going to be there because she's talking to her sister about how wonderful it's going to be for them to be there.
Yeah.
Like, and be part of all of this magic. I mean, her father and stepmother plus Floria were so blown away by all of the elegance and extravagance of being in this beautiful castle with all of these beautiful people dressed in impeccable clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just blown away by all of it. But Elodie, not so much.
Yeah.
I think she's looking at, I've got this duty where I have to marry someone I don't even know, have never even met, don't know anything about them really. And that's what she's focusing on, which I mean, you'd have to be.
Mm-hmm. But
she's not easily swayed by all of these incredible things. She does start to get a little more impressed by, some of the things that are there. I was more impressed, honestly, when they were coming in by ship and there were the huge dragon fire sconce things that were out there. I thought those were cool.
They're cool, but also I was like, you should know
creepy.
You're in for like a bad time. It was like, big fire and smoke breathing dragon statues are a little ominous, no?
Yeah.
Where it's like almost like they're going through a fog, but it's just the smoke from the statues. And then when they clear that, then like this nice, beautiful, sunny island like appears. But it's like, yeah, you should know. It's like you're almost like, yeah, you have to take a trip through darkness. It's like this place is hidden away by a darkness, by a secret.
You know what that reminds me of? And at Atten.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It reminds me of Atten.
No. Okay, mark this down as a historical moment. Daphne's out here making Star Wars references.
Oh no.
All right.
I realized what I did.
Mm-hmm. It has begun.
Oh no.
Uh-huh.
It's your fault.
We mark a beautiful day where Daphne is referencing Star Wars happily.
Oh
it's
my
a nice
God.
time.
It's your fault. It's all your fault. All of it. It does remind me of that, though, because it's about a secret. It's about keeping something hidden. And yeah. It's very majestic and beautiful and sunshiny, and everything is, rainbows. But that's not really the truth.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
The whole dressing scene, I have to say, for her, was quite something, okay? All of the different layers of clothes and different things that were part of the wedding attire, like that knife thing.
Yeah, I went on like a little Google rabbit hole to try to find if there is like a cultural significance of a dagger in like a wedding dress or something. No, I couldn't find anything anywhere. The closest I could find, and I can't pronounce it, because it's all very Scottish, where S's and B's and G in places they shouldn't be. But there is like the closest to it was like Scottish Highlands. Mm-hmm. Like it's very customary for people to have like a dagger as part of their dress, like in more formal situations. Like there are like formal daggers that go into part of like Scottish Highlands attire. That was the closest I could find, but they usually wear that like almost like on a corset on their leg or something. So it's part of...
Yeah, no, not like this. Yeah. Not down in between your boobs. Okay, basically that's where it was.
Corset's not the right word.
In the front of her dress.
Whatever I'm trying to think of.
It's like a brace thing. Like oh God, what is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a corset around their leg.
No, it's not as I said, I was like, corset's not the right word, but I can't think of the right word, so close enough. Strapped onto their leg somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole process and the little thing that she had that ended up holding fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like once we got to the root of where she was going to end up, it all seemed very, okay, yeah, these are the things that you're going to need when you're in the dark.
Which doesn't really make sense because it's not like they're part of the ritual or sacrifice, whatever, is to give her a fighting chance. Like, they're not.
No.
So I don't know why, for the sake of the story, she has those things to help her. But
yeah,
logically, there's a few things in this movie that, like, I just have to ignore the logical aspect of, or I'll get hung up and complain about it. So it's like, just let it be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be thinking about it too much because there's no point to it. It's just wasting your time trying to get answers on something or figure out something that there's just no point.
Yep.
Let it go. It's not that big a deal. But I also get hung up on stuff like that, so it's
like there's
struggle.
Like little things. So I'm like, I shouldn't even like, because these things I don't even have written down in my notes really. But now I'm like, well, I remember them because I thought about taking a note and I was like, I don't need to complain. But it's just like my little, because we've watched so many movies that I can pick up on production and effects and props and things like that, where it's just like, and then the stone pillars made of foam that she's sneaking around in, or like the golden carriage that takes them up to the mountain for like the ceremony. And it was like, they're bouncing over the bridge and you can see like the golden piece on the end, like wiggling. And I was like, oh, it's spray painted plastic. Like I can tell it's a plastic wagon covered, spray painted gold.
Yep.
They cut a lot of corners with the budget on props. They didn't need to make them super fancy.
No, they did not.
And again, it's things I notice, but I don't let it like taint my view of the movie. I'm like, hey, I get it. I've made like short student films and stuff with people in the past. And I was like, you do what you can when you're like on a budget. So, you know, a lot of this budget is going to special effects. So when it comes to the wagon, spray paint it gold.
Yeah. And folks, if you think that he's not telling the truth about that, I've actually seen one of them. He definitely has done it before.
Yeah.
For real. It's fantastic. Yeah. I don't let those things pull me out either. But they get through the ceremony. It looks lovely. Everyone is dressed in gold and red and vibrant. It's all vibrant and amazing. And then they take their little carriage and they go up to the mountain because it's about the ancestors. And it does seem very much like some sort of ancestral thing, the way that it's presented at most of, like, at first. When they first get there. When they start slicing the hands, that was, I'm like, I don't know about that. I understand now why they did it. And then things just, from there, escalate in a downward spiral.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how blood works, but we're not, not going to worry about it.
No, but I think they did it. That's why they did it. Like, they did it in the movie for that reason. Like, to make that. For that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but still, it's like, doesn't like mingle with the whole, don't worry about it. It's for the movie, so it's good. But yeah, it was just for welcome to the family. First order of business, mountain dragon death cult sacrificial murder ceremony. Enjoy!
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And fuck you, Henry. Where he just very much like, he's playing along with it. Yeah, you cut your hands and, oh, now our blood is of one and you are now of royal blood. Your blood's my blood. We are family. So that I'm supposed to carry you back to your yeet. Not.
Basically, yes. And we should say that her stepmother did not have a good feeling about this and did try to bring it up to her. Which I think, helped Elodie see that her stepmother is someone that she could count on. Mm-hmm. I think that definitely helped the long term of that arc of the story that involved her and her stepmother.
Yeah.
But Elodie takes a little highway to hell, basically. It's not to hell. It's not that far down, but it's definitely into a pit far below. And it's not an easy ride. There's a lot of banging on things, and she's pretty banged up by the time she gets down there.
Yeah, it's quite the fall. She's bruised, bloodied, wakes up, realizes the truth of the situation. Whole like, oh, I got told this story of the sacrifice, and is like, okay, great. I'm that's what I'm here for. Lucky for her, she's not quite as dainty and helpless as the others probably assume she is.
Yep, and I said, she rips off her necklace, and Elodie the princess makes way for Elodie the warrior. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like that was the beginning of her understanding the assignment.
Yeah.
She pays attention to what she sees as she's going through this entire second half of the movie, basically, or actually second 2/3 of the movie. She pays attention to what she sees and puts things together in her head based on what she's heard and what she's hearing from the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, which doesn't take her too long to run into and meet. She kind of goes into this big open changer, and then what in the flaming flock of birds is going on here?
Yeah. And she felt so bad when she saw the first bird. Like, she tries to, like, pat it down because it's on fire, and she's like, I'm sorry. And, man, yeah.
Which on the map later, where it's like, and there's the bird room, and it's like, is that just part of the thing? Does the dragon... It's like, ooh, somebody new is down here. Time for me to send a flock of birds and light them on fire. Is like part of the ritual that the dragon's like, ooh, it's bird time. I haven't got to do this in a while. Where does the dragon get her birds? Are they locally sourced?
Well, I wouldn't say that she hadn't gotten to do it in a long time, because she had killed someone not long before this one.
Yeah.
Probably the day before.
The day before, yeah.
Yeah. This is a 3-day thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of birds.
And Elodie got to see the other princess, before and after the ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, she saw her on the other balcony the day before, and it's just like, oh, they're just kind of like, oh, she's just like a part of the family, or she's somebody who's here in the kingdom. And it's like, oh, that's nice. And yeah, no, she was the bride and sacrifice of the first night. Mm-hmm. As she, unfortunately sees her again the next day in the dragon's lair in a much less alive state.
Yeah, very much dead. Not pretty.
Because the queen mentioned, the 3 princesses in the story, and then Henry earlier when they were on their little ride, because she talks about seeing the torch and stuff up in the mountains. He says, oh yeah, it's a ceremony. It's 3 nights of ceremony. So it's like, okay, yeah. 3 princesses, 3 nights. Every generation.
Yes.
So, when she first runs into the dragon, though, and is like, oh yeah, run a few feet away and then hide behind a thin cluster of stalagmites. That'll totally help.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess it did as a whip crack with his wicked tail. No, but
the whole time I'm thinking, you have got to cut this dress up, okay? Right at the beginning. I'm thinking, final girl vibes. What do you got to do? Well, you got to get rid of that dress. You've got this plastic wooden hoop thing underneath it. You got to get rid of that right away. Mm-hmm. You've got to cut off the length of it. It's so long, you're just going to trip over.
It's all just kindling.
It's all, it's nothing. Get rid of it. And she does over the course of the movie, but I'm like, no, that would have gone right away. Yeah. That's not going to help you.
Yeah, but we see she is pretty resourceful. Yeah, she's wrapping her burnt leg in tatters of the dress. She's trying to sharpen that dagger that was in the dress, using the dragon fire to make a little lantern out of whatever that thing was that was hanging on there, the little lantern ball.
Yeah, I was worried about her leg because when she took the bandage off later, honestly, I thought gangrene's going to set in. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be good. It took me to Society of the Snow. And no. I'm like, no.
Yeah, not good. And
not good.
She's trying to climb up and then goes back down the chute. I was like, okay, hey, I didn't sign up for claustrophobic stuck upside down in a cave shaft scenes. Like, no, thank you. I've already been through the descent a couple times. I don't need it. Don't.
No.
Honestly, no. I'll never. When we covered the descent forever ago, it's one of those, knowing that there are true life stories of people who are climbing through stuff like this and then do exactly what she did, where you slip and go head first into a little spot, and it's like, you can't back up because you can't go back up. There's nowhere. And so they just sit there and starve to death and die. And that's it.
Yes.
Once you're stuck upside down somewhere like that, it's like, and then that's it. Now you get to just sit there and die over the course of days. Have fun.
If no one knows you're there, it's worse. But then there's also sometimes people do know you're there and they can't get you out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. That Pake, oh my God. I know of an instance already. No, I don't want that in my brain. It's not good. I have claustrophobia too, and I do not want that in my head.
No thanks on that.
But she finds something very interesting that she gets to use for light. I thought they were like glow grubs, because to me they look like the grubs that they used to have on Survivor, but they were glowing in the dark.
They're glowworms.
They're glowworms.
I love glowworms. They're really cool.
So she used those for light, but they have multiple purposes.
Yeah, they're better than just use of a lantern. They're healing glowworms. That's helpful.
And she didn't even know they were.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's in this place and she sees, this is where I feel like she really started to understand just how depraved this family was. Because she ends up in this cave part where there are all these names on the wall and bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And she realizes they've been doing this a really long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of girls have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, before the glowworms, where she takes off the ring and kind of goes back over and thinking about what Henry had said and all this stuff, and then dumps it down into the chasm. It's just very much like, that's it, Henry. We're breaking up. I want a divorce.
Shortest marriage in history.
Yes. But yeah, that scene with, in the safe area, the safe zone, as I'm calling it, because it was written that way on that map, is, whoever this Victoria was definitely very helpful. And again, there was logical complaints that I was trying not to get hung up on, and then the movie actually explained all of them. So I was like, okay, thank you. Because at first I was like, okay, how's somebody making a map of how to get out? Because at first I'm like, if that actually was the true way of getting out, I'm like, what, do you find the way out and then backtrack to the safe zone just for helping future princesses? I was like, maybe if you're really that brave and like if you're going to put your, but maybe not. And then I was like, well, maybe you can just see that that's the way out, then go back before climbing the crystals and finish up the map. That's like a little more helpful. But then we see Victoria herself in the dream that says, it's a lie. Now, of course, that was more about the whole story and the legacy. But in that moment, I was thinking, oh, the lie was about the way out. That, like, whoever wrote the map was actually, like, that was fake map. And then I was like, no, because then the music and the crystals were real. Elodie's making the assumption Victoria made it out. She wrote the map, she climbed the crystals, and then threw the crown, her crown had the V on it, back down so the next person could take it and climb up, is what you assume. But yeah, Elodie gets up to the top and sees that, like, you can't
Victoria's body.
You can't escape the cave. It's just an opening in the side of the mountain with nothing but a giant drop in front of you. And then, the skeleton that was charred of Victoria who climbed up there realized she couldn't get out, and then the dragon did what she did here, is like, showed up. So then I was like, but I was thinking even before she saw Victoria's body of this, like, well, yeah, you get to the top and there's this drop. Like, you have two choices. You go back into the mountain and face the dragon, or, as the dragon said, fly, little bird. It's kind of the options you have at that point.
That dragon. It took me a little bit because I didn't pay attention to, like, who was in it beyond the basic cast, but Shohreh Aghdashloo as the voice, she has a very distinctive voice, and it didn't take me very long to figure out that it was her voice, that she was doing the voice, because she's been in a bunch of things. 24 is what I remember her from the most, but I thought it was an interesting choice for the voice of the dragon, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was a lot about the dragon that was interesting that we'll talk about, but yeah, so it's dealing with the dragon. Of course, then it's like that Elodie was going to meet the same fate as Victoria there, except Elodie's father came back for her with some hired men, distracting the dragon as they entered into the cave the other way, climbing back down the way the original king got down there centuries ago. And then there's all of that. So then, because there's another thing with her father, and go back to that, where I was like, well, I assume her father wasn't told about any of the sacrifice and the dragon and all that part, just that they couldn't see her again. Because I was like, he would never sign off on her being sacrificed to the dragon. He didn't seem that greedy. However, after, he comes back for her, and I was like, well, how does he know where she is? That's a little weird. But it can't be good. Dragon lurking around. And then, as they do have that final moment, I was like, damn, he did know exactly what he was getting into. But he says he couldn't live with himself for that choice, so he came back to get his daughter or die trying. And die he does. But not before he does get to see his Elodie one more time and tells her how to escape and where to go.
Yeah. It was really sad to watch her father be killed. Because it was one of those situations where the dragon is telling him to call her, because he's kind of the bait at that point.
They're using him as bait.
He just basically says, Elodie, I'm your father. You must obey me. Do not come out here. Which sealed his own death. Except he wasn't completely killed. He was mortally wounded. But then one of the guides was, making noise, distracting the dragon. Not because he wanted to, because it was an accident. And allowed Elodie the opportunity to go and talk to her father or be with him when he died, because the dragon ran off to make another man crispy.
She was just good at smashing people. She didn't even set anybody on fire in those moments, though. She just crushed that guy against the wall, and then the other guy, I was like, just crushed a dude into the floor. And I was like, damn, slay, Dragon Queen. Just throwing people, smashing them. But yeah, she's able to just barely escape the cave with the dragon hot on her heels. Hot, literally. Yeah, and then tries to escape. Of course, the dragon's just going to fly back out of the mountain. So, the dog doesn't die in this movie, but the horse is sure sacrificed by Elodie.
For a minute, I thought, am I watching this, or is this an episode of Fear the Walking Dead? Because that seems to happen a lot on that show.
Yeah, but then I think the dragon realizes Elodie was not on the horse, but doesn't know where she is. So the dragon is pissed and decides, well, I'm going to make some fire nados around the mountain and get all ominous and dark and creepy.
Yeah, she created quite a mess, and the queen was not happy about it, and that's another part of the story that we can talk about after.
Yeah, next. I mean, it ties into kind of what's next, because, the queen's pissed, so she takes Floria as a backup princess. Well, I guess the Elodie thing's not going to work out, so we'll just try again.
I wondered how much of that was actually about trying again and how much of it was about luring Floria to her death, because either way it was going to be a win. Either the dragon
I think the queen fully thought, the dragon will just take Floria as a new sacrifice, or else they wouldn't have worried about doing the hand thing with her and doing the royal blood thing.
That is true. That is true.
Of course, the dragon, on the other hand, was like, yeah, no, I want Elodie. She bested me, and I'm pissed about that. So, like, I'm going to lure. He's like, she can tell. It's like, this is your sister. I'm going to use her as bait. So that's not what the queen wanted, but the dragon decided, it was like, no, this is a vendetta now, and it's personal.
Yeah. I felt for poor Floria. I mean, she's a kid, and her father is dead. She doesn't even know it really yet. And her stepmother, she probably thinks is dead. Mm-hmm. Because they go specifically to the boat and take Floria to do this to.
Yeah.
And even though the stepmother kind of is trying to protect her, they just basically stab her. And I thought she was dead at that point. I figured she was just going to bleed out there. I didn't realize that maybe she wouldn't die, because I actually put it down. She died. And then later on, it's like, nope, she's not dead.
She's okay, folks. But yeah, Elodie is too late to stop Floria from being tossed into the cave. So it says she climbs down and speed runs the entirety of the cave maze to get back to the area where her father was. Which I was like, why didn't you just go in the way that your father did originally? Why do you have to go back through all the really deadly, crazy cave stuff? Just go back to that spot, because you can go in and out from there. I don't.
She wanted to do the maze, Pake. Okay, yeah. She's obsessed with mazes.
She's like, I can get a better score. I can do a better time. Go.
Funny enough, I don't think there were numbers going up on the screen. 20,000, 30,000. She's trying to beat the high score.
Yep.
On
new record.
Yep. No.
My only thought that I could justify that or reason with that, I was like, well, because you had to climb a rope up and down to get out, and the rope she climbed up got burnt. So she'd have to find another rope to go in at that point. But still, that feels like it would be easier than finding a rope would be easier than getting through the whole thing again. But she's
an overachiever. Yeah. She's going to do what she wants.
Yep. But yeah, she sets up a distraction to try to save her sister, which is really smart, having she piles up all of the armor from the old knights and stuff, and then fills a helmet with gunpowder or sand or something. And then I guess it was more sand, because why would there be gunpowder? There's no guns. But sand, but then just has a hole where it's trickling out with enough time to when it finally enough of it trickles out, the balance gets thrown off and topples the whole thing, which was
yeah,
that's clever. That's really cool.
This is also at the same time that she basically cuts off the rest of her dress, cuts her hair, and she's just this badass girl that's gonna take no prisoners at that point. Yeah. And she goes to rescue her sister.
Yeah. Of course, then Dragon still shows back up, and she shows just intense bravery to face off with the dragon, try to reason with her, tell her everything that's actually been going on in Aurea, and to just go toe-to-toe with this giant beast, inflicting some major damage to it. I mean, she stabs out her eye, and gets like a good jab in the chest and like through the arm. Does some damage when we have this dragon just bleeding and limping, and was not in great shape whenever Elodie was done with it.
She was really trying to reason with it because the way the story was told did not include why the dragon is so angry.
Yeah, no, it just said the dragon destroyed the village and attacked the people, and so the brave king went with an army and he survived the first attack and then reasoned with the dragon, and then there was this pact that was made that if you sacrifice 3 daughters, 3 princesses, that you would continue to get to live. And that's what they were told, and that's what they've been living on for centuries. With the truth of the matter being, no, the king went unprovoked, snuck into the cave, killed the newborn dragons as they hatched, and then his men were slaughtered by the dragon, and then instead of the dragon killing him, it was an eye for an eye, child for a child situation, where she was like, if you don't want me to destroy your entire village and all your people right now, then that's where this kind of sacrificial thing is set up. Where it's just to like, you're going to pay tenfold, for generations, you're going to continue to pay for the price of what you did to keep me at bay.
Mm-hmm. And it's not about eating the princesses either. It's about killing them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she wants to kill them to make up for what happened to her because she lost her children. They were new hatchling dragons, the last of their kind.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, of course, these people of Arya, instead of actually sacrificing any of their real descendants and daughters, they've had this ruse of marrying 3 women or 3 girls to their sons, sacrificing them 3 nights in a row and having, okay, there's the 3 for the generation, fooling the dragon, manipulating the dragon into thinking these are our princesses. Because the dragon doesn't know how many kids and what's going on in the village.
No.
Like, she doesn't know.
There's no gossip rag that tells what's happening in high society.
Right. So, and then Henry even makes the point, is like whenever, Elodie crashes that 3rd wedding, and it's like, oh, is this the 3rd one or whatever? And then Henry even says, he was like, this is the last one, and then I actually get to marry whoever I want, and I'm set because it's the end of the generation. They don't have to worry about this until he's setting up his own child to do this same thing. So that's what he's worried about. And it was just like, so that's how this has been going. Dragon not realizing that these people of Arya have been just basically kidnapping and sacrificing random innocent girls to the dragon for generations.
And the dragon doesn't want to believe it. Like, the dragon will not believe it. Elodie tries to tell her, and she will not accept it. She said, no, I smell your blood. And Elodie just tries to get through to her to the point that there's nothing she can do, so she is standing in front of her, telling her to burn her, and then she jumps out of the way, and the fire pops back onto the dragon.
That was a bold risk, making the dragon spit its fire back at itself. Because you could make a very reasonable argument that it would have been immune to that, given that the fire originates from inside the dragon. You'd think, well, then fire probably doesn't affect the dragon if it's making fire, but it took a risk, took a gamble on that, and the dragon is not immune to its own fire.
No, not this dragon anyway. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, I don't think I would have been standing there telling the dragon to burn me at that point. Could go horribly wrong. Elodie was badass to begin with. She got even more badass as the movie went through. Like, she just had nothing left to lose at that point, and I feel like she gave everything that she could to try to save herself, her sister.
Yeah. So once she's able to beat the dragon and then convinces her of the truth, then the dragon's like, we'll just end this. And no. She refuses to finish the dragon off, because why kill the other being that was being manipulated and lied to by these people and what they've been doing. So instead, she'd rather heal the dragon, help the dragon heal, so that instead of ending the dragon, we can end the kingdom of Arya. Because if the dragon dies and the kingdom just continues on in wealth with no curse held over them anymore, she's just helping the people of Arya at that point. So
Right.
There's no justice with that.
No justice at all. Henry was really interesting where he's trying to tell her that he could marry. He'd finally be free to marry. Because I get the impression he doesn't love what he's doing when he's having to sacrifice these girls. Because he didn't want to be a part of sending Floria down there.
Yeah, I mean, at least with her, it was like, she's way too young. This is wrong. And I was just like, well, I guess, Henry at least has some tiny little shriveled semblance of good in him. At least with that part. At least he wasn't willing to do that. But then, the queen just goes all Thanos about it. Fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is how any of this works. But okay. You can do that.
Yeah.
Finding out the stepmother was still alive, she gets on a horse and just gets to Elodie to let her know they've taken your sister.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to protect her. And again, part of this whole... It's not like an in-your-face arc. Like, it's going on the entire time. It's just at different points, you get to see Elodie start to realize that her stepmother has been on her side from the beginning. Yep. And by the end, she does call her mother.
Yeah.
And I did cheer very loudly, I have to tell you, when the dragon took people out.
Oh, yeah, it was cool. She just, crashes that last wedding and shows up and is very much like, I'm giving you... I was like, it tells the new bride and her family, run, get out of here.
Run.
And then anybody else, this is your one chance, knowing what's coming. And I love the queen. Should we fear you now because you managed to escape the dragon? And it's like, no, it's not me you should fear. Right? It's like, I didn't escape. I befriended the dragon.
Exactly.
We have a common goal now to watch your world burn.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it's all about watching you guys be obliterated. Yep. And Henry's face when it happened was kind of like, you know what? I feel like he understood.
Yeah.
It's like, we've been doing, this has not been okay. What we've done. It's horrible what's been going on.
Yeah. It was a nice effect just seeing the golden crown melting over the face of the queen. Like, yeah, that's great. I love it.
Last time I saw a golden crown melt was Game of Thrones.
Yep. It was a crown of gold.
It was a belt that was melted and poured and created
a crown of molten gold, but different.
Yes. Same. I mean, you know what.
Same, but different.
Same, but different.
Yeah, and then we see she's walking across that bridge. Yeah, badasses don't turn around to watch explosions or crumbling, burning castles.
Nope. There's no point. You don't have to. Just feel it.
And then afterwards, they load up on a ton of supplies and food and all this stuff from Arya and head back into the sunset. Literally. With their new dragon bestie.
Yep. Very reminiscent of Daenerys and the dragon going over the sea. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, does she learn to ride this dragon at some point?
I'm wondering.
Is it just gonna fully go into
Yeah. I think she's more of an Arya Stark than a Daenerys Targaryen. Mm-hmm. I think she is going to be friends with the dragon, but she wants to explore and see the world.
Yeah.
That's what she wants to do. So I think that she'd be doing more of that instead. See the world. Don't go to the house of black and white.
No.
Don't get stabbed. Yeah. Don't become no one. All of that. All of those things.
I'm trying to think if I have other notes for other characters. I don't really think so, because I just covered all of Bayford's and Arya people all in one. So I think just a couple dragon things that I think we probably talked about as well. Just little things. Very formidable dragon. The whip crack with a whippy tail, for sure. Has a very whippy tail. I like that.
Very effective.
Interesting dragon design. Just physically and visually, and also just within the story. It speaks and has hands and opposable thumbs, it seems, to some degree. Sort of human-like facial features a little bit.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell at first. It was mostly shrouded in darkness, but you're This is very, interesting. But they had some really cool moments. I think maybe my favorite dragon horror moment of this movie is when Elodie is standing under these icicles, letting them drip into her mouth as like
yes.
And then before the fire even comes, just the dragon's presence making the icicles start melting faster. I was like, okay, that's pretty awesome, honestly.
It starts to get dark. Made me think a little bit of Independence Day when the ship first comes over and it gets very dark. Yeah, I like that. I like the way it was shot. She doesn't see it's there because she's just trying to like drink from the icicle because whatever's in that water below is gross. And so she's trying to get some water in her. She's trying to hydrate, Pake, okay? She's trying to hydrate.
Hydration's important.
It is.
So, I mean, only you can see this right now, so I have a giant bottle of water while I'm recording.
Yep. And I have a liquid death.
Hell yeah. That's the good stuff.
It is the good stuff.
That's usually my go-to at House of Blues. If I go to concerts at the House of Blues.
Liquid death?
I usually don't drink beer or get cocktails and stuff at concerts. Usually I'm like, I'm happy to just get like a can of liquid death and I'm set.
You know, I remember when we went to Double or Nothing that the big thing for me there was I drank so much water. Like it was like hydrate. Yeah. Because I was always like thirsty.
Because we were walking around for all week, Memorial Day weekend in Vegas out in the desert. So yeah.
True. What do you do, right? What do you do?
Gotta hydrate.
I have this feeling it's going to be very warm for all in July. Yeah. So hydration is going to be very important.
It's key. And then let's see. What else? I think that's about it. Because then I had, just like what the actual truth of the sacrifice and stuff was. We've done that. So that's all the notes I've got.
Well, I'm double checking to see what I have. Because I think we've gone through everything that I had. I loved the relationship between Elodie and Floria, especially when they were talking about the wedding and everything. And Floria just basically says, it'll be fine. You'll see, you're Elodie. You can do anything. And I really just liked the supportive relationship that they had. Plus, you could see how much Floria really looks up to Elodie. And I appreciated that. We didn't see a ton of it, but I really appreciated what we did get to see.
Maybe it is just her name, but then, because you even kind of flubbed it up there a little bit with Flora. Reminded me of Flora from Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yes.
That's still just very, sweet and precious, kind of excitable. Perfectly splendid. Except this character here didn't have a really fucked up secretive background thing going on with her. So there's that.
No, none of that. None of that was happening. No. I did also like her resilience because she doesn't seem to want to get married, but she, is doing it for the future of her people because they would not be able to survive if they didn't get the resources that they needed. And so she was, willing to do that. And she's also a little rebellious because she gets the prince to go horseback riding.
Yeah.
To get away from his guards. So I liked that too. Let's see. Another thing about the dressing process. Me being a practical person, all I could think is, what happens if you get all of that on and then you need to go pee? Okay. What are you going to do?
You hold it till after the ceremony. Deal with it. Good thing it's a yellow dress, I guess, if you can't.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. That'd be something. I'm looking to see if anything else. I don't think so. I did wonder at some point if the dragon was just having a lot of fun, that this girl was a little feistier than some of the others, and
I think
giving her a more, a bigger challenge than the others.
Oh, I definitely think so. It's like what she says is like, oh, you're, I don't know the exact words, I don't remember, but just being like, oh, you're sneaky or you're quick. He's like, yeah, because the last one was over so quick.
Yeah. Did not last long. I mean, because you could kind of see, based on the different places that you saw the bodies, that some girls lasted longer.
Yeah.
With probably Victoria being the one that lasted the longest. And Victoria gave Elodie hope.
Yeah.
I think that she could maybe get out. Because she's thinking about it at different points, like, does anyone get out of this? And then just seeing all the names and realizing how serious it is. And then also finding Victoria's crown at one point and using it. I think it helped her realize, okay, maybe we can get it. Maybe I can get out of here. Maybe I can escape. And so that, I think, kept her going because she's in the dark. I mean, it's a claustrophobic place. Being in the dark and not being able to see anything or really understand your surroundings is scary. I was glad, honestly, that she healed the dragon once we got to the root of the secret. She healed the dragon, and then they went and got badass on the royal family. I mean, not a ton of people ran off until the dragon appeared, and then a bunch of them ran away very quickly because of it. So, yeah.
It was very, Dracarys.
Yeah.
The only thing we missed. No.
Dracarys. Yep. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. This was a fun one.
Going into this one completely blind, neither of us had seen it before. I was like, I don't know what to expect, but and I haven't really seen much review on this movie one way or the other. So, usually that's just like, maybe it's just fine and it flew under the radar. But no, of course there are, a lot of, little things that I could complain about. But overall, it was a great movie. It was fine. I enjoyed watching it, enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah, This was great.
I like that we can do that on this podcast sometimes. It's just take a gamble, and the wheel especially made this an extra gamble, and then just see what happens with it. And I think we had a good time.
Yeah, and even though we're not spinning the wheel for next week's movie, we will spin it again.
Yes, I'm going to make it much bigger with a lot of interesting choices that could be on there. So we'll make it fun.
I'm excited.
Oh, and there goes the feedback phone. So hopefully some other people check this one out as well and can give us some thoughts.
I hope so.
We'll grab that. All right, we do have one little piece of feedback this week for this one, so I'm excited to get into that. And of course, it's from Catherine. We can always expect her to come through. Love it. And Catherine says about this one here, Medieval Ready or Not had a bit of a slow start, but once she was thrown to the dragon, I was hooked. By the way, I like that. I never would have thought of it really that way.
Me either.
Until you said that, I'm like,
I love it.
No, that tracks. I like it. But she goes on to say, I loved the turn from survival to revenge and how the past sacrifices were able to help Elodie. I've always had a soft spot for dragons, so the ending was perfect. I hope they took some of those super healing glowing slugs home. Yeah, those are helpful.
Definitely. I love the Ready or Not medieval line. I think that's great. Ready or Not's one of my favorite films that we've ever covered, and there's a sequel coming, and it looks like it's going to be great. If you'd like to submit your feedback, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast, or you can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to our website that has all the links that you'll ever need at runforyourlivespodcast.com. If you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can, if you feel so inclined, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do. And speaking of sharing the love, of course, got to give those shout-outs to things going on in the Podcastica universe around us and beyond. A lot of great stuff for you to go check out and listen to right here on Podcastica. First, of course, my other podcast, Strange Indeed. Me and Rima still breaking our way through Season 5, the final season of You on Netflix. It's been quite a wild ride. We're having a lot of fun with it. The first 4 episodes are out now. I'm very excited to cover episode 5 next week. Not necessarily just for its episode, but so that I can finish that and get to the next one, because the cliffhanger on the next one is driving me absolutely insane, and I hate they gotta wait a week to watch it. But other than that, So it's been a good season. We're having a really good time with it. So definitely, if you're watching you either week to week with us, or if you've already binged the whole thing, come by and rewatch it. Listen to us. We are going week to week, but we're having a blast with it. Just don't spoil anything for us. But we're having a good time. So definitely come check that out. It's been great. Also on the Cast of Us, they're doing double duty over there every week. Of course, The Last of Us Season 2 has been phenomenal. I'm loving it. Doing a lot of great stuff. So coverage of that, of course, episode 5 this week is out. Eric and Jason. No Ben this week. I've been listening to it, and I started and I was like, oh, where'd he go? But Ben's been very busy as well, because aside from doing The Last of Us coverage with Eric and Jason, except for this week, he also has been kicked up with Walking Dead Dead City coverage, as season 2 of that is now running. So he's been joined with his friend Alex on that same podcast on the Cast of Us feed, covering Dead City. So they got episode 2 of that this week for you to go check out. So for all your zombie/infected whatever goodness, you can go check out coverage on the Cast of Us of The Last of Us and The Walking Dead Dead City. A lot of good stuff going on there. Also, The Handmaid's Tale podcast still running, as season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale continuing to truck along. So yeah, Wendy, Jason, and May covered the episode this week, so you can go check that out. Yeah, Daphne's been doing a lot of that podcast, but she's not on there this week. At least not for the main episode. But if you do need some Daphne talking about things involving this week's episode of Handmaid's Tale, then definitely check out the feedback episode.
It's the feedback part of the episode because Jason did what we do here, where we do our feedback at a separate time. So he asked me if I had time to pop on to do the feedback.
Nice. Cool.
So I did. So it's all part of the same episode.
Nice. So you won't get to hear Daphne on the main episode coverage, but she's jumping in and doing feedback. So still get a little bit of her input on the episode this week. Good to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited to cover the next 2 episodes. I can't believe we're at the end. I feel like we just started the season and we're going to be done. And then Handmaid's Tale will be over.
Oh, man. Is it a final season, or...?
Yeah, this is the final season. They're doing Testament. It's Margaret Atwood's follow-up book. They have a cast in place for it. I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But if you go out there online, there is information on who's going to be part of that show.
Nice. Good to know. So yeah, definitely. I'm sure you guys will cover that eventually when that comes around. So
yes, we're planning to.
People stay tuned for that. And speaking of series finales, of course, Star Wars TV Cast, you can check out the coverage of the final 3 episodes of Andor. Star Wars Andor, Season 2, Episodes 10, 11, and 12, all out. It's the final season, final episodes. It was always going to be just a 2-season series. And so good. The show is phenomenal, perfect in every way. I love it. Definitely check out Jonathan and James' coverage of those final 3 episodes. I watched them and was in awe through all 3 episodes, and then was in just unrelenting tears by the end of the finale. And then the credits rolled, and I immediately hit play on Rogue One and jumped right into that. It works amazingly as just like a keep on moving and roll in. So if you've ever wanted to rewatch Rogue One, there's no better way than watching the finale of Andor and then just rolling right into it. It's so good. Just a little advice for you out there, Star Wars nerds. It was great. So yeah, definitely check out that Andor series finale coverage as well on Podcastica. So of course, also the Murder Magnets podcast is back. Season 2 of Peacock's series Poker Face is out. Penny, Becky, and Mandy covering the first 2 episodes is out now. You can go check that out. Of course, Natasha Lyonne on that show.
I know.
A lot of fun stuff there. A lot of great cast members and guest people for this season. So definitely go check that out. Watch that show and then check out the coverage over on Murder Magnets. And as I say, beyond, because that's all the great stuff that you can go check out on Podcastica. But we always got to give some shout outs to our friends outside of that network over at the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. Our good friend Mark runs a lot of great stuff over there. You can check out Adrenaline Cinema to hear him and Rob talk about The Accountant 2. That is up, so you can go check that coverage out there this week. And of course, we give some love to our friends over at TV Podcast Industries, also covering The Last of Us. So I was like, if you can use some more Last of Us coverage, which not really if, Of course you can. Everybody can always use more Last of Us nerd outs. So go check out their coverage over at TV Podcast Industries as well. And then my other podcast and Daphne's other podcast, Buffalo Podcast with our friends Jeff and Jerry. If you want to go check that out, take a little break from the TV shows, the movies, all of that, and just hear us have a good time joking around, trying to make each other laugh or groan, whatever feels right at the moment, and playing games and having a good time, and yeah, just being buds. You can go check out that over there. We have a good time with it, so give it a listen as well. It's something a little fresh.
We do. We do have a wonderful time. Even when they're driving me crazy, it's still fun.
Yeah. Well, then after you've checked out all of that fun stuff, you know you can come right back here to Run for Your Lives next week, where we will have something new for you to check out. Daphne, what are we doing next week?
Well, a small-town radio DJ begins to report on strange, violent events unfolding in real time, only to realize the danger may be coming through the very words he speaks. We are joined by a special guest, our good friend Levi, to discuss Bruce McDonald's 2008 film, Pontypool.
Yeah. It's good that we haven't had a guest episode in a little while, so always good to bring in some people. So, of course, yeah, our good friend Levi from Talking Trimmers, who's been on here a couple of times before. They'll be coming back, and we'll be talking Pontypool, so it'll be a good time.
With that, we've reached the end of another adventurous episode. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.